So thank you so much for taking the time to interview with us. So basically, I'm just going to ask you a few questions about your background as a teacher, how all of this came about, and more so like where do you see yourself in the future and just in the education industry overall. So what school are you currently at and what is your role?
Hi, so I'm currently at Springwoods High School in Springbridge ISD. My role there is being the Dean of Students. So basically my role is all about working with teachers about building better classroom management systems, also working with other students who have different behavioral issues, teaching them different coping strategies, helping them manage their emotions. And the main thing I'm also over is the special education department as far as our adaptive behavior units and our monitoring program, which in each district they have a different name for it and stuff like that. So we call ours the structured behavior support system. And so basically it's just me going in, helping with students to be able to be active in class, also learn how to manage their behaviors and their emotions. So pretty much all day I'm talking with kids and helping them work through their issues and teach them different coping strategies to be successful in the classroom.
That's exciting. So I'm sure with that, you probably have maybe a greater connection with the students than you would if you were just, teaching in a classroom.
Yeah, because the whole thing is that I truly believe you can move mountains. My mom is a teacher. Other people in my family are teachers, but I remember my mom telling me the whole time when I first got into education or first got into teaching, she's like, the first thing you need to do is build a relationship, relationships. Those things are what help move these kids to do anything and everything to be successful. They will be respectful of you. They will be able to follow a directive, but they will also want to work for you. Because kids really do crave structure. They crave a routine. They crave procedures. If you have all those three things in place and set high expectations, because when you show them this is what I'm expecting from you, this is what I'm talking about, they'll rise to that expectation. Because sometimes there's people in their lives not trying to be oh, okay, I don't care what you do.
Gotcha. Have you always known you wanted to be a teacher or be in education?
So I got my degree in marketing. So it's marketing is all about trying to reach that target audience and figure out what people's needs are and try to match their needs to what you're selling. So no, I did not go to school for education. When I was at a marketing firm, we got to partner up with A-Leaf and tutor math on the side. So one of the things while I was at the firm was I still don't feel I don't feel like I'm being a blessing to somebody else. I don't feel like I'm reaching somebody else. I don't really feel all the way fulfilled yet. So the thing I really wanted to do was go and tutor. And so that's what I would do on the side. I would go tutor 2 or 3 days out the week, and I'll tutor math because I love math. And I did that for a year. And I really decided hey, I'm going to leave corporate America and I'm going to go and get my teacher certification. So that's how I got into education. I got my teacher certification through Texas Teachers. I think they're called Texas Tomorrows. I taught my first year, got nominated for Teacher of the Year. Then my second year of teaching, I actually won Teacher of the Year. So I really do love teaching. I feel even in my new role, I'm still teaching.
I always tell people when talking about you, you are one person that I know in the education industry who has just kind of started something and just catapulted all the way upward. You started and you just did not look back at all. So when you were a student, did you have any teachers or possibly college professors that even starting your journey, you were able to look back and say, okay, if I could reach these kids in any way, it would be this person was able to reach us?
So future educators, the normal question sometimes they always throw out to is so who's your favorite teacher and how do you think you can use what you learned from them to pour into your students? And the person I always use is my favorite teacher, my 5th grade teacher, Miss Art. Like, if you know me, I hate English. I do not like writing. I do not like the sentence structure, syntax, diagram, and sentence. That was not me. Like I said, I was a math teacher. I was a math person. So, but Miss Art, I still really loved her class. She did not teach me math, but I loved her class. And the reason why I loved her class was because even though I wasn't that great, like I feel like she taught me that every child has a different intelligence set. Like if you like heard of like different intelligences, and you should read it's like a book about it as well. Like everybody
Yeah,
has
because
different
we all
intelligence.
learn differently.
Yeah, we all learn differently and we all have different sets and skills that we need to play to. Those are our strengths. But just because English wasn't my strength doesn't mean you give up on that kid. You learn how to work with that kid to help them learn the material. And so I saw all the time she poured into me. So I wanted to do the same thing. I do the same thing with all my kids. Like when I was teaching math, like I would teach math in like 3 different ways. Like I'm like, hey, this is like a pictorial view because some people look at pictures and learn better. I would break it down like through 1 to 2 steps. So like some people just need to just do the direct steps that I'm doing. And then some people, they like to create their own ways. I just like to make sure like, hey, are you still getting the same answer? Because at the end of the day, the goal is to make sure that these kids are learning. And like even with behavior, like it's a very tricky and hard thing to work with kids about because there is no like one set way to
For
help a
sure.
kid understand behaviors and learn coping strategies. And the thing that I teach my staff, because I am over a group of people and I have to work with a group of people to teach them like these are some practices that we are going to like emphasize in this new program. Now that I'm a part of it, this is what we're doing now. We're not using traditional methods to reach these kids, especially because like the pandemic happened. Kids are not as emotionally mature. Kids are not like, because I don't know. So there's articles about how these kids have missed out on like a year and a half of learning, but they also have missed out a year and a half of social emotional learning as well. Like
For
the
sure. And
peer,
even
the
as
thing.
adults, I believe the lack of being able to socialize has affected us as well.
Because like you just can't just like understand that some people they look like grown kids. They look like, oh, you're a big ninth grader, but some kids are really like 7th grade. So it's like if you are in ninth grade, you really have the emotional like maturity of a 7th grader. If you're in 10th grade, it's 8th grade. 11th grade is ninth grade. 12th grade is 10th grade.
So now that you've developed such a extensive resume as an educator and you have such a lengthy tenure now, what would you say are maybe the best parts of being in education and maybe what would you consider the difficult part of it?
The best parts, like so I have a master's degree in education administration, and I also have I'm earning my master's degree in counseling and mental health counseling. So the best parts are that I'm able to help these teachers who sometimes they think that these kids are not on level as far as academic wise because of the behaviors, but it's like when I come in and I step into my role and using the extensive knowledge that I do have, like I'm able to like talk to this kid, like understand what's going on. And sometimes it's things that are going on at home. And like sometimes teachers don't, right now they feel like they have to rush and teach. And they don't stop to really get to know the kid. And like one of the things that I have always taught my teachers, especially the ones who have behavioral issues, is that threshold strategy is like before they ever enter the room, tell the kid like, hey, how you doing today? Like that's like on a scale of 1 to 10, how you doing today? You get that like 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, and just start keeping in your head like who is at the higher end and who's at the lower end throughout the class period while you are teaching and doing in the, like those individual break times, independent practice time, pull them to the side and be like, hey, like I noticed that you said you were a 2 or 3. Like, is there anything I can do to make your 2 or 3 go up at least 1 more point?
That's
Like, what
awesome.
do
I
you
really
need
like
from
that.
me? to help you in this moment. And like, once you do that, you're pairing the social emotional part with the learning part. And then that kid will be like, this person actually cares about me.
For
So
sure.
like, it's those things that I've learned is like, I'm glad I got the academic part, but I'm also glad I'm getting that emotional part with this new degree.
That's really good. Um, so the pandemic came and just shook the whole world up and just threw us all, what I consider just threw us all off for what is going on now, like 2.5 years. How do you feel like this has affected the education industry, and maybe just you, and how are you handling that being a educator?
It has definitely made everybody, all my colleagues and peers, like really understand that there are really multiple ways of learning, and like it's really blown the whole paper pencil and traditional teaching methods like out the window.
Mm,
Like, you're not gonna be able to go back to say, hey, we're only gonna do paper pencil anymore.
yeah,
Like, you're gonna have to figure out different modalities to help reach these kids. Cause like, I know the issue was like the accountability piece of kids not being there, but the accessibility piece is what we really learned. Like, okay, if the kid has access to this stuff, they can always keep learning. Like, our job as teachers are always to give good first instruction. If you give good first instruction, the back end is like the butter piece. That's the easy piece. That's a piece where it's like, now that the kids have access to the material, they can take it, create it, and get to the higher levels of blooms that people are always talking about.
yeah,
But if we are not giving good first instruction, then you're not going to be able to meet that piece. And I think the pandemic really pushed a lot of us to start differentiating for these kids and coming up with different good first instruction pedagogy. And I was really glad about that. Like, that's the beauty of the pandemic. Now the bad part was like, we did have to strain ourselves a lot. A lot of people were exhausted trying to teach online, in person, half and half. Like, that was crazy. And
yeah.
I was not teaching in that time. So I give it up to every teacher that was up there. Y'all guys are the real heroes and the real champions. And if nobody told you that they are proud of you, I'm telling you I'm proud of you. Because
No, and I'm sure
that's a
they
lie.
appreciated that.
That's a lie.
Yeah. So being that it is Black History Month and we take every chance to
Yeah.
celebrate the culture, what would you say is your power being a Black, not just a Black teacher, but a Black male teacher? I know for me personally, it sounds so far ago, but when I was in high school over 10 years ago, we did not have this level of representation in the classroom. So how do you feel about that? And like, how does that make you feel? Like, what do you feel like your power as a Black male in the classroom and in the school district and on the level that you're at? What does that feel like?
Um, I feel a responsibility to continue to pull people with me. Like, because somebody reached back and they brought me up too. Like, Dr. Brian Williams, like, that's my mentor right now. He's a community superintendent at Spring Branch ISD. And he really like helped mentor me, help like guide me. There's also been Dr. Arthur Polly, who worked at the system of care. There's also Miss Tyra. She's a director of a counseling. I have Miss LaWanda Jenkins, who's a lead counselor at my high school right now. Like, I have so many Black leaders who are like just doing it and like making it like look so effortlessly easy. And they help me in so many ways. And not even just like, I have like Mr. Scott Harrell, he's helping with our athletic department right now, building new programs up, helping our boys like build and find worth within themselves. We have Miss Tyra Harrell, that's his wife. Hey, Tyra. Tyra's like, she's our lead trainer, and she's helping build more like partnerships throughout Spring Woods and also throughout the Spring Branch community. So it's like, you have all these people who have poured into me, even as I'm up where I am right now, because I don't feel like I'm done learning.
Yeah.
But all the things that I learned from them, I go back and I'll see a Black teacher, a Black new teacher, a Black paraprofessional, a Black substitute. Like, I'm like, hey, like, if you are interested in entering this field, like, just let me know. Like, I'm here to help you, because somebody took the time to help me. Like, I help with like resumes, I help them practice interview, I help them like, hey, like, I may not know, you want to be an English teacher, I don't know how to teach you the competency test or how to help you study, but I know this is a good resource to use. So like all the things that somebody poured and used into me, like I feel like it's my responsibility to come back and be like helping them out. And they look at me all the time. They're like, well, how old are you? You what? You've been at this for how long? You doing? You already have this love? I'm like, listen, it ain't nobody but God that like helped me get to this part, and people who have said my names in rooms that I was not in. But it was the way that I carried myself. It was a way that I was always proud of who I was, my individuality. Like I never strayed away from who I was as a person. I always showed my true, authentic, transparent self. And I always was trying to work hard and like burst down walls. Like I was like, oh, like anytime there's a volunteer opportunity, I was like, well, let me get in on that because I just want to learn.
Yeah.
And
And
like every
I
time,
know,
like,
even just as a not just as a family member, but as someone who has like watched you on the sidelines, and I feel like, champion you along the way. I know there are a lot of times where I see
you and Aunt Brenda.
yeah, I see you post so many things on social media, and I'm just like, where does he find the time to, do all this stuff? So I am very proud of you and just the level of success that you've reached. But one thing, you kind of spoke on this a bit, reaching back, helping others the same way someone have, helped us along the way. For young adults who are coming into the industry, who are unsure, maybe they don't see as many of, Black and brown people in maybe districts that they are interested in, what could you tell those young African Americans that are thinking about becoming teachers? They're, not really sure. They know it's something that they're passionate about, but they're just, on the fence or just unsure about what the journey looks like. What words of encouragement or what would you tell them?
I would tell them that what would little you want to see?
Oh, that's so good.
Because like I didn't see a lot of me going through the educational system. I didn't see a lot of me when like I had principals and stuff. I didn't see a lot of me when I had a counselor. I didn't see a lot of me when I had leadership or stuff like that. I didn't see a lot of me like going in, taking those weekend trips and doing things like that, because that's the stuff that I did. Like I was a part of those endeavors to try to make sure that those little kids saw Mr. Cage, like, and they knew who Mr. Cage was, because Mr. Cage was gonna make sure that I was gonna be there for them. So like, if you really wanna make a difference and you really wanna be there for somebody, like come into this field because we need you and they need you.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. So my last question, and this is for more so a structural standpoint, being that we talked about the pandemic, the teacher shortage is a nationwide thing right now. And a lot of areas, especially here in Houston where we are, they have shifted the qualifications a bit. With that taking place, if you could speak at a district level, what are things that the districts can do to ensure that they are attracting quality teachers, teachers of color, a diverse pool, and making sure that they are getting the right people in front of these children in classrooms?
I feel like the districts need to do more. They need to be reaching out to not just the same pocket of job sites that they go to or the job fairs they go to. Like you need to go visit the HBCUs. You need to go visit the Prairie Views, the TSUs, the Howards. Like you need to go make yourself known like, hey, we are looking for people like you. You need to make sure that you are spotlighting how you are seeing these people, my people, as human beings, and that you are understanding their individualities and that you are celebrating who they are. You're not telling them to hide any parts of them, and that you are going to make sure that you support them. Because at the end of the day, support is what everybody, like every human wants. Like they want support. So I'm lucky enough to be in a district where if I have an issue, I can literally like text my principal, text my community superintendent, text my superintendent if I really need to, like, hey, like, I need to bounce some ideas off of this. Like, what do you think? Like, welcome our ideas as well. Because like, if we don't feel like we can grow, like why would you want to come? So give these people an opportunity to like feel like you see them in their individualities, that you are going to support them of who they are, and that you're going to help them grow. Like if you do those three things, like you'll see some changes.
Awesome. I love that. Well,